Thank you so much. It's great to be here. So I'll talk a little bit about Tovala and then we can open it up for questions. So as you can see here, our business is one that includes a countertop oven, but also fresh food. And what you can't see is the software that's behind it. The problem we're solving is a universal one. And it's that time is the most precious resource we have, and yet we never seem to have enough of it. I'm sure everyone on this call can empathize with that statement. Our mission really is to give people that time back by reinventing home cooking. What that means is we take all of the best elements of a home cooked meal. So here you see the raw ingredients: raw salmon fillet, raw green beans, fresh sauces that we've made, chopped up lemon. We take all the best parts of the home cooking and get rid of all the bad parts that actually keep people from preparing food in the first place. So we do the preparation on the food. We chop the salmon just right. We portion the green beans. We make the sauces. We ask our customers to do about a minute of preparation. So for this meal, it means just adding the sauce on top of the salmon. Then they put their food in the oven. They scan the QR code that you see on the box right there. That downloads the cooking instructions to the oven. The oven then cooks the meal perfectly in 13 minutes, and you don't do any work. And part of the magic is that the oven moves through different cooking steps. So for this meal, it will steam for 3 minutes at 350. Then it will bake for 7 minutes at 450. And then for 3 minutes and 15 seconds, it will finish with a high heat broil. So you get a nice char on your green beans and the sauce caramelizes. So your home smells nice. The food comes out very hot, and you get all these different textures, but you've done no work. That's the magic of what we offer. And as we looked at the landscape, we saw what we believed to be was a very large white space in the market. And that's at the intersection of high quality and high convenience. If you want all of the best parts of a home cooked meal, but don't want to have to work for it, there are not great solutions on the market. So if you look at meal kits on the one end, they require you to do all of the work. You have to prepare your ingredients, chop, prep, do all this work. Then you have to cook everything. You have to manage your different appliances, and then you have to clean. So if you're a busy individual or couple or family, it's not something that can stick for a really long time. On the other end, you have frozen food, very convenient, but not that high quality. It's all pre-cooked, it's frozen, and then it's reheated in a microwave. Really, the best alternative today, if you're not a Tovala customer, is food delivery. The food is cooked not that long before you eat it. It's delivered to you warm, and you get a big variety and nice selection. The reality is, though, as we've spent a lot of time talking to customers of food delivery, people that do that 2-3 times a week, it actually becomes stressful. First is the decision making they have to do every night of where are we going to order from, what are we going to order, and then you have to wait 30, 45, 60 minutes. Then you don't know what's going in your food. You don't actually know the ingredients, and oftentimes it's hard to do portion control with delivery. And then lastly, price. The average ticket for delivery is, call it $40 to $50 for a couple. So that adds up if you're ordering it on a regular basis. We sit in this intersection of high quality and high convenience because we've built a vertically integrated business where we do everything from sourcing of ingredients to producing them in our own facilities, to building the appliance that cooks them, to making the software to control that appliance. That's how we can offer such a unique and valuable user experience. What that translates to is incredibly strong retention. So looking at anyone else in the meal delivery business, whether it's meal kits or meal delivery, our retention is magnitudes higher than other players in the industry. And at the end of the day, the reason for that is that we have solved the problem. The problem is I get home Tuesday night at 7 o'clock, I'm hungry, I want a high quality meal, and I don't have time. And every solution that's listed here does not quite solve that problem nearly as well as us. Secondarily, we have the hardware in people's homes, and that essentially serves as a reminder for customers of our value proposition because they're using it all the time. Even when they're not cooking Tovala meals, they're using the oven to cook their own food. So it helps reinforce and strengthen our retention. You'll see that even over time, what's really interesting is the retention flattens out. So once people really build a habit with the product, it sticks in their homes for a really long time. We've been in market for about 3 years, so have a lot of data to support this. And we have hard data, we have anecdotal data. We hear from our customers all the time that this product is life-changing and it's behavior changing, and the data supports it. The other piece is our growth. Kafir touched on this, but over the last 9 months, our growth has accelerated incredibly rapidly. A few major things that drove that. The first was a big rebrand. So over the course of the first half of 2019, we spent time listening to our customers, understanding in their own words what made Tovala special. And we took those learnings and redid the entire brand. So the website looks different, the messaging, the photography, the videography, made a really big difference in our conversion rate on our website. The second piece was on price. We made some changes to our pricing structure, specifically changing the upfront price of the oven by $50 and reducing the commitment we're asking for customers that buy the oven at $199. That pricing change, again, increased our conversion rate in a big way and allowed us to really start to scale up our marketing spend and do it efficiently. So we've been growing incredibly rapidly since September of 2019, and COVID really has just accelerated that. So even though a lot of the growth came before shelter in place, once shelter in place hit, we saw faster growth on top of that. We saw current customers ordering more food. We saw paused customers reactivating, and we saw demand go up so high, frankly, that we've had to cap demand on a weekly basis just to ensure that we're maintaining quality and safety in our food facilities. And that has largely been the case for the last month and a half. So just a bit about our team. You'll see we're all really into food. Myself, I love avocados. We've got a team with a big, broad depth of experience. My own background has been primarily in the food industry, starting my career working for the founder of the Veggie Grill, and then running a chain of restaurants across the country. My co-founder, Brian, started his career at GE and John Deere. He's got his PhD in mechanical engineering, and he ran his own product development firm before starting Tovala with me. Taryn, our COO, started her career at the Blackstone Group. She was on the launch team of Hulu, and after getting her MBA at Kellogg, she spent 6 years at Redbox, eventually leading the finance team there. Leslie, our CMO, has 15 years of food experience, started her career at Kraft, spent some time at Bain in their CPG practice, got her MBA at Harvard, and then spent 7 years at PepsiCo in a variety of roles, eventually leading product innovation for the Quaker global brand. Keely Caballas, our Senior VP of Hardware and Operations. He spent 8.5 years at Whirlpool, taking products to market on a global basis, running large factories. And then Nick Lazarus is our advisor. He was the former CEO of Keurig, as well as Coravin. And our investor base includes Origin Ventures, the Pritzker Group Venture Capital, Y Combinator, Tyson Foods, and then as part of this Series B that we recently announced, Finisterre Ventures, Comcast Ventures, and Rich Products as well have all joined the team. So we'll just close with a quote from an existing customer of ours. If Tovala stopped existing, it would probably have as much an impact in my life as if Uber were to go away. Thank you very much.
Okay, David, thank you very much. This was awesome. We have some questions from the crowd, but also I'll start with my own question. I'm here in Israel, and will probably be your first customer when you arrive in Israel. But how do you plan of taking Tovala across the nation, the US, logistics-wise, and spreading from? I know you're based in Chicago and servicing the East Coast now, but the West Coast and those people, how are you gonna approach that?
Correct. So today we actually serve the entire continental US. The way we reach the West Coast is we take refrigerated trucks and they drive our product to FedEx hubs on the West Coast. And then from there, they ship out using ground shipping. It's a very economical way to scale the business in the early days. Next year, we'll open another facility west of the Rockies. That will allow us to get to the West Coast earlier in the week. It will improve our margins and most importantly, increase our capacity so that we can continue to grow. That will be the largest lever to allowing us to keep scaling. And like I said, it's not a demand problem. It's really our ability to fulfill that demand on a weekly basis and maintain quality, but also safety in particular during COVID.
Great. So a question from the crowd: how is this different than just a regular oven with pre-prepared food? So I'll add to that question. I think there's also a key element here in Tovala's oven, and you should explain about it, is that also frozen food that you buy in the supermarket can be used on the oven. That's awesome. People don't get it. So if you can tell about it.
Sure. So we can start with the frozen piece. So the oven has a lot of functions, one of which is the ability to cook over 700 frozen grocery items just by scanning the UPC code. So you can go buy an Amy's burrito from the grocery store, scan the UPC code, and the oven knows exactly how to cook that without preheat. So it adds a whole nother level of functionality to the product that helps encourage people to buy. In answer to how it's different than an oven with prepared food, there's a few things. The first and the most important is the automation. So we looked at that salmon meal. To cook it, all you do is scan the QR code, and then every meal, including that salmon dish, goes through multiple different steps and has no preheat. So in 13 minutes, you get a meal that's cooked from scratch exactly the way our chefs intend, and it changes the way it's heating, which is what allows you to get a nice caramelization of your sauce or a nice char on your vegetables, things that are really hard to do with a traditional oven unless you're gonna stand there and change the functions every 10 or 15 minutes. That's the first piece. The second piece is that our chefs have figured out how to cook complete meals at the same time so that you could have a raw piece of salmon or a raw piece of chicken and your side dish and have them cook at the same time and come out at the same time. There's a lot of mastery that has gone into figuring out how to make that happen and keep a menu of 15 items that change every single week. And it is quite different than what you could buy that is just prepared and ready to go into the oven.
We have another question from the crowd. Do you offer kosher food on the menu?
We do not offer kosher food today. At some point we would like to, but it does inject a whole another layer of complexity into the food operations, which we manage ourselves.
Mm-hmm. So for the people that have joined while you were pitching and probably didn't catch the first slides, let's talk a little bit about the customer, the Tovala customer, and about the traction during this pandemic and the new clientele base.
Sure. So, I'd say the blessing and the curse of Tovala from early on is that we have a very wide breadth of customers. We have customers as young as 20 years old and as old as 85. And for a while, it made it difficult for us to understand who we should speak to. And as we went through this rebrand in the first half of 2019, it allowed us to really center on the young, busy, modern couple who value time above anything else. And if they do like to cook, they only like to cook on weekends. So that's who we speak to on our website. It's who our advertisements are geared towards. That couple makes up just about 30% of our customers, though. We also have a big base of empty nesters that just don't want to cook anymore. And we have a really large base of singles that range in age from 25 to 65 because cooking for one is inefficient and most of the services either don't cater to singles or are too expensive. So it's still a broad customer base, but our targeting and our messaging, especially on our website, is pretty custom and tailored. In terms of how that base has evolved, it's largely stayed the same through COVID. What I would say COVID has done is just shined a brighter light on alternative solutions to going out to restaurants or to cooking with people that are at home. And this was a trend that was already on the way. We felt like we were getting more and more exposure and people were recognizing the value of a product like ours. And what COVID has done is just accelerated what probably would have taken a few years into a much shorter time frame to the point now where, again, we have too much demand than we can fulfill on a weekly basis.
Great, thank you. Okay, so something that I'm seeing here is maybe they're asking to talk a little bit about the competitive landscape and what's out there. Yeah.
Sure. So, we don't necessarily view ourselves as in the oven business, and that comes back to the consumer. So when a consumer is thinking about buying our product, they're thinking about what they're currently using for dinner, particularly during the week. And for the most part, that's food delivery. It's services like Grubhub and Uber Eats and Caviar. Most of our customers have tried meal kits and actually churned from those services because they didn't quite solve the problem. But when our customers come to our website, they're generally not in the business of buying an oven. That's not what they're looking for. They're looking for a better option for weeknight dinner. And our oven is the vehicle to access that. So when we think about alternatives, it's largely competing against food delivery and secondarily to prepared food that's pre-cooked and reheated in a microwave. And for the reasons I talked about earlier with delivery, we think we win, first on decision making. Our customers are so busy that going through the decision of what to order 2-3 nights a week becomes quite stressful. Secondly, on ingredients, they don't know what's going into their delivery. And then third, on price, our meals are all $11.99, and the average ticket for a couple on delivery is somewhere between $40 to $50. And then when we compare to prepared food, it's a quality argument at the end of the day. We're shipping mostly raw ingredients. Our oven is cooking them from scratch, exactly the way our chefs intend. It's always going to be superior quality to food that is pre-cooked and then just reheated in a microwave.
Great. So with the limited time we have left, those last 3 minutes, maybe give us a little taste about the menu and exciting new dishes coming up.
Yeah, that sounds good. I need to think about what my wife and I ordered for this week. So I'll talk about a few of my favorite dishes that show up on the menu from time to time. One is a miso glazed salmon with brown rice and broccoli. And it comes with this lemon citrus vinaigrette that you put on the broccoli, and then you put a miso glaze on the salmon. It cooks just right. The part of the magic of the oven is that it can steam. So it helps keep a piece of salmon really juicy, and it cooks the broccoli through, but then that meal will end with 3 or 4 minutes of broil. So the broccoli gets a nice char on the top, and the sauce on the salmon caramelizes. It's amazing. We've started eating them for lunch more often since we're both home and working, and some of our customers have started to do the same. So that's one of my favorites. Another thing that's actually pretty new on the menu are pita meals. So last week we had a Greek chicken and pita. We ask our customers to make the pita, and it's fun for them. So they cook the Tovala meal, then they put a pita in the oven, it warms it, and then it comes with all the things to put in the pita themselves. So they make their own fresh pita sandwich. So we make the meals a little interactive, but really limit the amount of work.
Well, you're preaching the choir here, because as Israelis, we know how hard it is to cook a pita, even in the microwave after you bought it first time. So making the perfect pita in an oven is nothing. It's very complicated. So last few minutes, yeah, let's. What do you want to close this with?
Yeah, I think I would close with, what gets us excited for our business is that we have product market fit in every sense of the word. We have more demand than we can meet. Our growth has been extraordinary the last 9 months. And now it's a question of scale. Because we have the product market fit, we have a business that we believe is very defensible and a massive market in the United States. Now the challenge is, how do we scale it up? And we believe we actually have a very strong management team to go through that scale up process, and also a great investor base to help us. So it's a very exciting new chapter for the business, and one that we're really excited about.